Hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome to Slow Fashion Mom. Today I wanted to talk about minimalism and living in a small space with a family. Now, I don't think necessarily if you are a minimalist you need to live in a small space. Maybe some minimalists like big homes. Not sure. And also not to say this is the best way or the only way to live. I just wanted to share our personal experience. I think whatever works for you and your family is the best, whether you like a large house or a tiny house, whatever, it's up to you. Today I will be sharing the pros and cons that I have found living in a small space with a family. So first, for some background, we live in a 2-bedroom apartment in a big city. We've lived here for 2 years and I absolutely love the area we live in. My husband can walk to work, we walk my son to school, and I can do all of my errands on foot. We do own a car, but we don't use it that often. We are renters. This is for a few reasons. The first is that the city we live in, housing is extremely unaffordable. For the area we live in right now, you can't get a house for under $1 million, and pretty much citywide prices are crazy. Also, another huge benefit of renting for us is that it gives us freedom to travel. We have been on a big trip before with our son, and we definitely want to travel again while our kids are still young. It also gives me the freedom to stay home with my kids. If we wanted to buy a house or if we had a mortgage, I would definitely need to be working full time. So with all that being said, I will move on to the pros. In general, I can say living in a small space with a family has been great, and the absolute number one benefit I have found is increased family time together. I have most of my kids' toys in their room, and I had visioned when we moved in and they shared a room that they would play with toys in their room. In reality, everyone is always in the living room, and sometimes we're doing things together, sometimes everyone is doing their own thing, but we're kind of always together if we're home, which is nice. And we've lived in much larger spaces before, and it was a lot easier for people to kind of go off and do their own thing. And here, if you need or want privacy, people could go to the bedrooms, but just as it happens, we're kind of always together in the living room, which has been a bonus. I saw recently the minimalism film done by the Minimalists. I will link it down below. It's on Netflix and it was really great. And there was one really interesting part where they quoted someone who had done a study who basically had mapped families in their homes to see where they spent the most time. And regardless of house size, if you lived in a huge space or a small space, they found that during waking hours, most families are spending all of their time in the kitchen and living room. So I thought that was really interesting, and just because we live in a small space, that area is kind of all together, so we are always together. The other major bonus for me is that there's a lot less to clean. It's a smaller space, obviously, small kitchen, 1 bathroom, and that makes my cleaning so much easier to stay on top of. And even if I slack off and have to do the whole place in one go, then it's not that big of a deal. I have also found there's a lot less clutter living in a small space, and this is something that you're kind of forced to stay on top of if, like myself, you don't like clutter and you like the minimal kind of look. So it's really obvious living in a small space when too much stuff starts coming in and it starts to get cluttered. For me, that's a bonus because it really forces me to stay on top of it. We also don't have a lot of storage, so you can't just, kind of shove things in closets, which is good because it really forces me to think about what we're bringing in, where we're going to put it, what function does it have, all of that. The next pro, I think, is having no backyard. And when we first moved in, I thought this was a con. I was thinking negatively about it. I thought, oh, if only we had a backyard, I could just let the kids go out and play. It would be so easy. After living here for a while, I kind of changed my mind and saw that this really is a big positive because it forces me to get outside a lot more as well. and our building backs onto a big beautiful park. Literally we can step out the door and be in the park. There's a paved trail for biking and a children's playground and tons of green space. So it forces us all to get outside and get exercise and spend more time together. So having mentioned the positives, there are a couple cons, and the main ones for me are the kitchen and the bathroom. They are both really small. The bathroom is super tiny. The kitchen is a galley kitchen, which means it's essentially a hallway. It's hard to fit two people in the kitchen if you can't really fit two people walking by each other. And the bathroom, with 4 people sometimes getting ready in the morning, you definitely get interrupted. Someone needs to use the washroom, but these things aren't that big of a deal, but definitely things I would think about in our next place. So that's it for today. I wanted to share our experience living in a small space, share the pros and cons with you, and overall, I love living in a small space with a family. I definitely think we will always live in a smaller space. I just like how it kind of brings you all together, or maybe forces you all together, depending on how you look at it. So please let me know in the comments down below, do you live in a small space or a tiny house, or do you prefer a large house? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye.